Remember a time before streaming, before downloads, before your entire media library could fit right in your pocket? There was this place where movies, music, and games all lived together under one massive roof. It wasn't just a store, it was more like a cultural hub, a place you went to spend time, not just money. And that place was MediaPlay. It's one of those things, right? One minute, they felt like they were everywhere, an essential part of being a fan of anything, really. And then, almost overnight, poof, they were gone. So, how did a retail giant that pretty much defined an era of entertainment just vanish? That's the mystery we're going to unravel today. So, here's our roadmap. First, we'll look at what MediaPlay actually was. Then we'll talk about why it thrived during the golden age of physical media. After that, we'll get into the digital revolution that changed absolutely everything, see the business decisions that sealed its fate, and finally, reflect on what we all lost when those doors closed for the last time. All right, let's dive right in. To really get why MediaPlay disappeared, we first have to go back and remember what it was like to walk through those doors. For anyone who never got the chance, what exactly was this entertainment superstore? Yeah, this was not your local corner record shop, not even close. MediaPlay, which was launched by Musicland back in 1992, was a huge bet on the big box model. We're talking massive, warehouse-sized stores, around 50,000 square feet, dedicated to nothing but entertainment. The idea was simple, but wow, was it ambitious, to create one single place for every single kind of media you could ever want. And I mean, the scale here was just mind-boggling. This wasn't just a handful of new releases. You had over 60,000 music albums, over 15,000 movies on every format you can think of, VHS, DVD, even Laserdisc. And on top of that, all the video games, a ton of software, a deep collection of anime. It was an absolute paradise if you were the kind of person who just loved to get lost and find something new. You know, this quote just hits the nail on the head. It perfectly captures that experience. It wasn't just transactional, it was a destination. You could kill a whole afternoon in there. It was this amazing shared space where a whole family could go and everyone would find their own little corner of happiness. Okay, so for a hot minute there, this whole model wasn't just working, it was absolutely thriving. MediaPlay showed up at the perfect time, right at the absolute peak of our collective love affair with physical stuff. At its peak, the chain grew to 89 stores across 19 states. Now, the parent company, Musicland, they had these grand plans to open hundreds of them all over the country. But 89, that was the high watermark. That number shows you just how big they got, but it also kind of hints that maybe those ambitious plans were already running into some trouble. And they had this really clever strategy to keep you coming back. It was called the Replay program. Think of it like a loyalty card on steroids. It was part of this whole ecosystem. You could earn and spend points at MediaPlay, sure, but also at their sister stores you'd find in the mall like Sam Goody and Suncoast. It basically turned browsing into a game, rewarding you for the time you spent digging through the aisle. But you know how these stories go. Just when things are at their peak, the world starts to change. And a digital storm was brewing that was about to turn the entire world of entertainment completely upside down. MediaPlay was standing right in its path. And this really gets to the core of it all, doesn't it? It was a complete flip. The MediaPlay era was all about that physical discovery, the thrill of finding a new band just by looking at the CD cover art. You owned things. The digital era that was coming was about something totally different. Algorithms telling you what to like, subscribing instead of owning, and a much more personalized and often more isolated experience. And here's the thing, the world didn't stop liking MediaPlay, it just stopped needing it. And the hits just kept on coming. I mean, they were getting squeezed from literally every single angle. You had stores like Walmart selling the biggest new CDs for way cheaper. Best Buy and Circuit City were the kings of electronics. Amazon was this new online thing with a catalog that seemed endless. And then, of course, you had the big one, MP3s, which started to make the whole idea of a physical music store feel, well, kind of ancient. And this quote, man, it just nails the fundamental problem they had. The whole point of a big box store is to appeal to everyone, to the masses. But MediaPlay, for all its size, was really a specialty store. It was for the real media fans, the junkies. It catered to a niche. And that deep but narrow appeal became a fatal flaw when the rest of the world just wanted the lowest price and the most convenience. So, with the ground shifting under their feet and all this new competition, Well, the numbers just stopped adding up, and the decline, when it finally hit, was unbelievably fast. Okay, just look at this timeline. It's brutal. In 2001, Best Buy swoops in and buys the parent company Musicland for a ton of money. Just 1 year later, the division is already losing a fortune. By 2003, Best Buy is so desperate to get rid of it, they sell it to a private equity firm for basically nothing. That firm tries to save it, but by 2005, it's over. The closures are announced. In just 5 years, it went from a massive acquisition to total liquidation.
And if you want to know why Best Buy hit the panic button so fast, here's your number. A loss of $85 million in a single year. That's how much the Musicland division, including MediaPlay, lost in 2002. They realized they hadn't bought an asset. They'd bought an anchor, and it was pulling them down fast.
And that was it, the final nail. In December of 2005, the announcement came down. All 61 MediaPlay stores that were still left would be closed and liquidated by the end of the next month. Just like that, an entire era of retail was over, and 2,000 people lost their jobs. But, this wasn't just another company going out of business. The disappearance of MediaPlay felt different. It left a real void, and it signaled the end of a very particular way we used to engage with culture. Think about what really vanished. It wasn't just the store itself, right? It was these experiences. The whole idea of browsing as something you just do on a Saturday. That simple, amazing joy of stumbling onto something you weren't even looking for. The pride you felt looking at your shelf of CDs or movies that you'd curated over years. And maybe the biggest thing, we lost these shared public spaces where you could just be around other people who loved the same things you did. So when you really look back on it, MediaPlay wasn't a failure at all. Not really. What it was a perfect snapshot of a moment in time. It was the ultimate, final expression of the physical media era. It was like a bridge, built right as the river underneath it was changing course, connecting that analog world we were all leaving behind to the digital future we were racing towards. So in the end, that's the legacy, isn't it? MediaPlay didn't just sell us entertainment, it literally shaped how we found it. And it leaves us with a pretty big question to think about today. In our world of endless convenient options and perfect algorithms, what have we gained? And maybe more importantly, what have we lost when it comes to just simple human connection?